Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a homeowner association that I never joined hated that I parked my semi-truck on my private farm property. They ended up vandalizing my truck and I caught them. Here is what I did. Let's dive right into the story. The title story starts like this. Move over United States because we have HOAs down here in South America too, and the brutality might even just match yours. Before I get ahead of myself, I'm a farmer here and live within an HOA that I'm not a member of. I also kind of have two jobs, which make this story a little hard to follow, but I'll do my best I can to make things clear. I'm technically a farmer since I own land that is part of my family farm and I help maintain it. I don't own or work much on the actual farm, which is more my brother and father. I instead own a small trucking business and I'm on the road a lot. I don't like doing super long trips, but I can fill up the semi-truck for some pretty big deliveries. Now, when I first started my business, the biggest issue was finding a place to park my truck. What I ended up doing was converting some of my land into concrete to make almost my own personal parking lot for the truck. Big enough to hold it and also my everyday vehicle. One big advantage is that I can use the truck if my family has a big harvest and need to transport it to a buyer. Now, the biggest issue here is that the HOA absolutely hates my job and my truck. They want me to get rid of both of them, and they don't seem to get it through their heads that I'm not in their jurisdiction. Just as a side note, even before all of this, we already had issues with the HOA because they hate our farm and use their power to try and fine it all the time. Once I started to not cooperate with them, they tried to take things out on my family and tried to get the farm shut down. First, let me explain a conversation that I had with them. They came up to me shortly after I got the truck and built the lot on my land, aka the parking lot. They started telling me that I couldn't do that to my land or own the truck because it was against HOA policy. I was quick to remind them that I did not belong to the HOA, and they told me that it did not matter. That since the truck was visible to them, it made it their problem and they had no issues taking it out on me and my family's farm. That was when things really started to escalate between us and the HOA. As far as the farm is concerned, they went from giving small stupid fines to actually trying to report it to the city and getting it shut down. They were making up lies about how we treated the soil and that we are growing illegal things on there. This caused a huge investigation and the farm not being able to export anything until we were cleared, which took weeks. It was a disaster and the HOA assumed it would make me get rid of my truck. But I was not gonna let them control me, and after messing with my family, I was pissed. They started sending me daily fines in the mail for $250, claiming that my truck was against the HOA laws and that I had to either get rid of it or park it out of HOA sight. I did not give them a single penny and instead collected them all in a little folder for when I could get to a lawyer. My plan was to maybe sue the HOA for giving me illegal fines and trying to take things out on my family. Before I could end up doing that, they took things a step further and changed everything. They ended up sneaking onto my property one night and decided to vandalize my truck. I know that most people reading this might only know about cars, but let me explain, the cost for fixing a truck is way more than a car that got the same level of damage these guys did. They spray painted horrible words and graphic images all over the truck, trying to really show their point of it ruining the aesthetics of the neighborhood. My guess was they would tell courts if I tried to sue that I did that to my own truck. They also broke the outer mirrors and attempted to slash the tires, but only got a couple of them. They had a small knife and these were some rough, tough tires. Anyway, after they finished, the truck could run and work, but it needed the spray paint removed and mirrors and tires replaced before I could do anything. What they did not know is that my property had cameras and I caught them doing the entire thing. Now, instead of suing them for just the false HOA fines, they were now getting charges pressed against them for vandalizing my truck and trespassing on my property. They wanted to be spiteful, and now I was gonna make sure that it cost them plenty and make them never mess with my family again. I took the truck in to get it fixed and it turned out to cost me a lot of money. All new mirrors, 4 new tires total, and the entire thing had to be painted since whatever the hell they used was not coming off without destroying underneath it. It was fine with me because the guy taking care of all of this knew I was not going anywhere and willing to wait until after the lawsuit for me to get him his money. I know that is not common practice and this guy was just an amazing man. Anyway, speaking of lawsuits, I'm gonna jump to when we were in court and trying to see if I could get the money from them and see what would happen with the fines. They made the biggest mistake in my opinion, which was blindsiding their own lawyer. He was busy giving a speech about how HOA members need to follow the rules and that I refused to pay a single fine that they had sent me. Well, he didn't learn until that moment that I was not actually part of the HOA and he didn't know what to do. They had told him that my property was the same as the farm, which was an HOA member. The problem was the fines were sent to my address, a totally separate one from the farm they were claiming I was living on. The judge threw it away, telling them that it didn't matter if they thought the truck was ugly. I did not have to follow the bylaws until I actually signed the papers and joined the HOA, which I would never do. He was also far more interested in talking about what they had done to my truck. The video was able to be shown as evidence and the HOA president, along with a few others, were clear as day destroying my truck. Their lawyer was trying everything to just get the video thrown out so I would not have evidence. We made sure to do everything right though, so the video was valid proof and all the judge really needed to see. I had the bill for the repairs and the judge ordered the HOA president to pay the entire thing. Plus money for the week I couldn't work due to the truck being fixed. At the end of the day, he got kicked out of his HOA position and I got a restraining order against him just in case he wanted to blame me and start more trouble. He also had to pay me a massive fine for trespassing and destroying my truck. However, he did not end up in jail. Instead, he had to do community service on a farm. And yeah, ripe stars, honestly, I wish that stupid guy ended up in jail, but then again, community service, a restraining order and a big fine is not bad as well. Either way, if you still enjoy the HOA stories, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and maybe even post a comment because that would help me tremendously. Thank you so much. The next one is an Am I the A-hole story. Okay, so I'm not a very talkative person at all. I hate small talk, I don't like talking about myself, and I'm not particularly interested in other people either. It seems like every workplace I go to, people think I'm weird because I don't socialize. I'm not rude or anything, I just don't go out of my way to have conversations with people, I would rather listen to my music. The other day while I was on lunch break, one of my coworkers just randomly asks me while I'm minding my own business, "Why are you always so quiet, man? You never say nothing." And I immediately got pissed off. Without thinking, I responded, "The same reason why you are so loud." And he was like, "Yo man, relax, it was just a question." And then I said, "Is there a problem?" And he said, "Alright, never mind, I'll leave you alone." And that was that. I feel like I was unnecessarily rude here, but it's just so I'm sick of people asking me that question and making it sound like an accusation. It's like being quiet is a bad thing to them, or it means there's something wrong with me. Like, why even ask someone that? I know I could have just said something like, "Oh, I don't know," or "It's just the way I am." But why should I have to explain why I am minding my own business? Still, I took out my anger on this guy when it really wasn't about him. It was the fact that I've been asked that stupid question so many times that annoyed me. If I'm the a-hole, should I apologize to him? This happened recently enough that it wouldn't look weird to apologize for it. And to be honest, ripe stars, I would say that question, "Why are you so quiet?" is really a stupid question. Maybe OP was the a-hole in the way that he reacted aggressively or something. I would also say though the coworker was definitely the a-hole for asking such a stupid passive-aggressive question. Anyway, comment number 1, you are the a-hole, you're an adult, you use your words, it's just as easy to say that's rude to ask as it is to be an a-hole like you were. It could have been a teaching opportunity for someone who didn't realize what he said was wrong, but you reinforced the idea that quiet people have something wrong with them. Comment number 2, you're the a-hole, you might be tired of that question, but it's the first time he's asking. He might not even be aware of others asking you all the time, it's more of an attempt to start a conversation, not an accusation. Comment number 3, not the a-hole. Wild to me that everyone views "why are you so quiet" as an okay question, but "why are you so loud" as rude. And yeah guys, I gotta say, Reddit in this thread was very divided. There were many "you are the a-hole" and "not the a-hole" answers. Either way, let me know what you think about this one in the comments. The next one is titled, "I got a 1-up over my boss." I used to work as a property manager for a semi-large company in a small city. Among the usual duties of a PM, we were also responsible for after-hour maintenance calls. Originally, we were paid for 3 hours of overtime to cover the phone calls we answer and paid an additional $80 for any call-outs we have to attend ourselves. The entire team rotated the phone between us, so we only had the emergency phone for 1 weekend every 2 months. The phone was an after-hours maintenance line for over 800 properties, so you can imagine how busy it would get, but the extra pay helped the blow of losing your weekend. This was not a problem until our boss wanted to crack down on overtime hours, stating, I very much doubt you're working 3 hours while you have the emergency phone. His new rule was for each staff member to document when and who called, and you would be paid an hour of regular time each call. However, under no circumstances are you to attend any issues yourself. This includes unlocking doors for tenants who are locked out of their property. He enforced that the tenant must pay for a locksmith to attend and let themselves in. This angered many of our clients and caused us to be constantly abused over the phone by our tenants, as they had to pay $300 for a locksmith. This is where the malicious compliance began. We indeed documented all our calls, which instead of paying each employee $100 for 3 hours, he ended up having to pay us $500 or more each weekend due to the amount of calls we would actually take. However, it does not stop there. What I should probably mention is that our company can provide accommodation for our more higher staff at a fraction of the cost you would normally pay. The manager in question was in such accommodation, and lo and behold, he managed to lock himself out of his apartment at 11 PM on a Friday night. Manager: hello OP, I have locked myself out of my apartment. You need to collect the spare keys and come unlock my door. OP: I'm very sorry manager, but I cannot do that. Manager: excuse me? Why not? OP: unfortunately you have instructed me to not attend any callouts under any circumstance. I can, however, send you through the number of our preferred locksmith to come let you in. After a few choice words, the manager hung up and phoned the locksmith. Let's just say, after he had to fork out $300 for an after-hours locksmith, he changed our ability to attend callouts. And the next one is another malicious compliance story. A few weeks ago, I found myself parked next to a car that was, as far as I could tell, identical to mine. Same maker, Subaru, model, Outback, color muddy green, and probably same year, although I'm not an expert. Close enough probably though. It's a popular car, I pass them all the time. My car has a large-ish parking lot ding on the driver's side rear door panel. No idea how it got there, probably some kid opened his door a little too quickly and forcefully and it smacked into my car. These things happen. No need to get worked up about it. I'd been meaning to get it fixed, and I'm a little sorry that I didn't do it because it would have saved the idiot a lot of grief. Of course, self-inflicted grief, to be sure, but still, enter the idiot, box standard middle American dad, nothing special about him. We are both exiting the Walmart with full carts and he is about 100 feet ahead of me. As we approach, I'm thinking, it looks like he's heading in the same direction as me. I even plan on jokingly saying, nice car, in Subaru solidarity, but I will not get that opportunity. I should mention here that I've already clicked my clicker to unlock the car, it will be important later. I kind of wish I hadn't, to be honest. That would have spared the idiot some grief as well. Well, this is the point where the idiot notices the large ding on his car's door. And he takes offense at that. To be fair, that ding is pretty ugly. The paint is gone where the tip or something from whatever hit it was centered, and there's a scratch leading off to one side. I think it kind of looks like a spoon in the middle of a small/shallow cereal bowl, so anyway, he gets really mad, like screaming things like, son of a gun, and it's a brand new car, and stuff like that. I think he looked up at the windshield hoping to find a note or something, but this all happened so fast that my brain might be making up details to fit into blank spots. I've actually slowed down a bit by now because it's uncomfortable being around really pissed off people. And to be honest, I was super confused about what was going on. For a second, I actually forgot which car was whose. It didn't make sense for him to be hopping mad about my car having a dent. I think my brain was going, wow, two exactly same cars getting huge parking lot dings in them? What are the odds? But you know that weird twisting feeling when you are oriented yourself from the confusion and snap back to reality? Well, exactly that happened. I realized that he had made the same mistake that I made, and so I did what anyone would naturally do. I called out, hey, it's okay, that's my car, which backfired spectacularly. The idiot must have thought that I meant, that's my car door that smacked into yours, which only made him madder. He started saying things like, what the hell? And more of, it's a damn brand new car, and more of the same. I tried to explain, not exactly easy from a distance and definitely a lot harder when someone is raging at you. And that is when he opened the driver's side rear door on my car, in other words the one with the large ding, and then he slammed it into his car very hard. It made a dent, took a little paint off the edge of my door too, but I didn't notice that until later. So at that point I yelled, hey, stop that, which only made him more upset because he responded with, oh, you don't like that? Shut the F up, or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing here. So I guess in a nutshell, that is my malicious compliance. I did exactly what he said, shut the hell up, and let him slam my car door into his car a couple more times. And I also let him try to kick it too. There was not enough room between the two cars for a good Chuck Norris roundhouse, so he had to be satisfied with a weak sauce knee to the rear quarter panel. A rear quarter panel to the knee, so to say. But kudos for trying, idiot, you gave it your best shot. I wish I was some kind of heroic Viking warrior who would come to the defense of his property, but my flabby-ass wimpy dadbot is not up to a fight in a Walmart parking lot. So I backed my cart full of ice cream and frozen tater tots right the F out of there and started booking it back to the Walmart, intending to ask for help from a security guard. I sincerely regret that, because I didn't get to see the moment when the scales fell off from the idiot's eyes and he realized that he had been beating the crap out of his own car. I can only imagine that it was one of the most epic epiphanies of his angry life. And to compound my disappointment, he exited the parking lot in the opposite direction, preventing me from seeing the extent of the damage he had done. I did not get to applaud either. This whole episode took maybe 5 minutes tops, probably less, but aside from a little lost paint on the edge of my door that was probably gonna have to be replaced anyway, I was fine. Him though? Not so much. And damn, ripe stars, I gotta say, these malicious compliance stories are growing on me. This one was absolutely excellent. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. Inheriting a large amount of money from a deceased relative can be quite daunting. Throw in a crazy uncle to the mix and it is even more daunting. Now, to really understand this story and where I am coming from, I have to tell you about my crazy family dynamic. Or maybe it's normal. Who knows anymore? So, my grandfather has 3 children. My dad, my aunt and my uncle. My dad is the only one with kids. My aunt is actually just 6 years older than me and my sister, and my uncle is actually insane. He struggled a lot with addiction through his life, and although he is clean for the most part, he was smoking weed at this time. Which is funny to me, because isn't weed supposed to calm you down? I think the chemistry and wiring in his brain is just not there. I don't mean to offend anyone that has struggled through addiction, but please understand, even without the addiction, my uncle was just not known to be a good person at all. My grandpa was a very smart businessman and investor. With all of his properties and monetary wealth combined, he was worth millions. Originally, in his will, he was leaving most of his wealth to his wife, but unfortunately, she passed away a few months before he did. When my grandpa died, my aunt and dad both inherited properties from him. My sister and I intermitted one of his biggest properties and part of the money that was originally supposed to get. Basically, all of us got something except my uncle. While a part of me did feel bad for him, I completely understood my grandpa's choice. My uncle was known to steal for drug money, and even when he was sober, he would steal stuff to pawn for rent money due to poor money management. At the time, I was in my mid-20s and my sister was in her early 20s, but even then, both of us were more responsible than he was. It sucks when you have to basically kick your own family member to the curb, but I know as soon as he found out how much everyone had inherited, that all hell would break loose. And well, I was right. My uncle was pissed when he found out that my dad and sister were the recipients of many of my grandfather's properties. He was even more pissed when he found out that my sister and I had inherited a house and a lot of money from my grandpa. So much apparently that he made a fake will and trust and brought us to court over it. I gotta give it to him, I genuinely did not think that he was that smart. I mean, he was not smart because the fake will that he had created did not even make sense. He forgot to list several of my grandfather's properties on it and the court was able to prove that the documents were fake. He basically ended up screwing himself over. Oh, and because he technically forges my grandfather's signature, he ended up getting charged with forging legal documents. He was trying to take money and valuable assets from us, but ended up screwing himself because he had to pay a fine of $10,000. I guess he did not think about that when he faked all the documents for a will that had already been taken care of. I would like to mention that yes, living in this beautiful house and not having to worry about paying bills because we had enough inheritance was nice. But at the end of the day, I really just wanted to honor my grandfather's legacy. For example, all of his properties were absolutely beautiful and well taken care of. My sister and I actually set aside part of our inheritance money to keep our new house in the condition that my grandpa left it in and to help take care of it. I knew that if my uncle got his hands on anything that was my grandpa's, whether it was a leather watch or a house, that he would just absolutely trash it. That would not just hurt my sister and I, but I know it would absolutely destroy my dad and my aunt. It would be like he was trashing my grandfather, basically. We thought that after the $10,000 fine he had to pay, that he would back off from us. But I guess we should have the mindset that now that he needs money more than ever, he will probably do whatever it takes to get his hands on some money. In the house that my sister and I now shared, her room was on the bottom floor and mine was on the second floor. One night, a few months after the whole court and fake will situation, I woke up to hearing a girl screaming at the top of her lungs. At first I honestly thought I was dreaming or waking up from a dream. Then I realized that it was my sister. I have never run down a flight of stairs so fast before. And when I got downstairs, I was shocked at what I saw. My sister was backed into a corner and there was a man with a ski mask on with a gun in his hand. Now, my sister was a pretty petite gal and this guy was tall. My uncle was tall too. Do you see where I am going with this? I honestly didn't know too much about self-defense or anything like that, but I was able to tackle the guy down and get the gun out of his hand. At this time, my sister was already calling 911 and I was able to take the mask off the guy's face. And yep, it was my uncle. Apparently, he was trying to break in and find a stash of money sitting around, but my sister woke up because she heard some funny noises coming from the kitchen and living room. If you are gonna try and rob someone, shouldn't you at least have a solid plan? My sister and I were smart enough to not keep stashes of money just laying around the house. Our money was either in savings accounts or hidden somewhere very safe. The police arrive at the house and while my sister is speaking to them, I call my dad to let him know what was happening. By now it was probably like 5 AM in the morning and I was exhausted. We pressed charges on my uncle and he ended up getting a 5-year prison sentence with 3 years of probation for a second-degree robbery. Like I said, it really sucks when you have to kick family to the curb, but it just seems that some people cannot get their lives together no matter what. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.